everyone, and welcome on board the Sunset Safari here on Djuama Private Game Reserve. As you can see, Karula, a female leopard, is on site. She's been here for about 72 hours feeding on an impala kill which she has hoisted up in a tree not too far away. There's still probably about 10 or 15% of that kill remaining, and hopefully later on this evening we'll get to see her moving along this vegetation and then climbing up the tree to feed on the impala remains. We've got VM on camera. My name's Scott, and this is a live safari. We've also got another visitor, a National Geographic guest who is on the back of our vehicle with us, Nick. So one more passenger than normal, and thus it's about 24 degrees Celsius, 76 degrees Fahrenheit, cool afternoon, a little bit windy, there's a slight breeze, but it's not going to play a big impact on the safari. Let's take a closer look at Karula. Now, for those of you who were not with us on the Sunset Safari, it's looking promising for a dry safari, although this area does desperately need rain. So that's what happened this morning, but at least our safari should be able to continue the full 3 hours without any obstructions. James has also headed out on the other vehicle, and he's headed up into the northern and eastern reaches of Djuama to a waterhole up there. He said he had a lucky feeling in his stomach that there may be something going on over there. There was 5 male lions there yesterday afternoon, and we're not too sure where they went. Brent did go and have a quick look for them this morning, but with all this bad weather we raced for shelter and we weren't sure where they have actually ended up. They could still be on Djuama, and hopefully that is the case. Just want to maybe reposition slightly. And I would like to possibly leave her now because she's fast asleep, and I'd rather spend some time with her a little bit later on when she's more active. And we did see a big herd of elephants moving not too far away from us, so I'll be able to head straight to those, and they were on the move. And if you are joining for the first time, it's important that you realize that we are incredibly fortunate to be starting with this leopard. It's not at all easy to find them, and don't be fooled by the fact that we are
Well, good afternoon everybody, and welcome to Jigger, the recalcitrant vehicle on which Brian Joubert, inimitable cameraman, and I, James Henry, find ourselves there. And we're sitting with them because, of course, we're heading towards birthing time, and this is an extremely exciting time of the year. We've had some good rain in the last few days, and I think that these impala are about to pop. There were reports of one baby impala down. Drop their lambs within about probably have a listen. There are a few birds calling, but there's also the very slight kind of bleating noise that sounds a little bit like a baby impala. There, you hear that? You get that? It's just off to the front and left of your screen, everyone. It's just behind us in there. This will be tremendously exciting. Now, I'm not going to attempt to try and go in there, because if it is a baby impala, of course it's going to be very nervous, and I'm not sure if you're hearing the sound. I don't think you are. It's very the right hand side are definitely looking towards that way. So let's have a quick record. While I do that, just remember, we are live, of course, and you are welcome and encouraged indeed to ask us questions. Hashtag Safari Live if you're tweeting like that black cuckoo. Alternatively, questions@wildearth.tv on the email. And please remember to tell us where you're from. It really is always nice to hear where our different viewers are from in the world. Astonishing that we can take you on a game drive from here, no matter where you happen to find yourself with an internet connection. Right, so we're just going to stop right here. From the herd. So this little herd that's off to the right hand side, let's assume that there is actually a baby just born in there. That herd move away for the next sort of half an hour or so, and then the mother will take her youngster to thing until it is about well, in these days, until it's about 30. Well, there might be, but I can't. There's definitely no way I'm going to walk in there and look, or drive in there. It's quite thick. So we'll go forward and we'll observe every single impala herd we go past. Right, on we go. It's a very good afternoon. It's probably sitting at around probably more, 26 degrees Celsius, which is but I know that 28 is 82, so I'm going to guess that 26 is around about 78. It's quite cloudy, as you can see, which is actually off the ground, and it does make things a little bit muggy at the moment, but it's actually quite a nice feeling. We had also an exception.
Quite abnormal, so she's easy to distinguish from other elephants. Let's try and get ahead of them. There is a chance we may be able to. What have they found there? I'm fairly certain that's what it was that got them going. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we've got another presenter who some of you may well know. Have the pleasure of being driven around by Aubrey. I don't think we are going to be able to manage to loop ahead of these elephants, but at least we are a little bit closer to them. We're moving very close to the front of the Voyatella Lodge. There, I wonder if we can get the female with that upturned tusk there. She's tilting her head from side to side. We should be able to get a few intermittent views. Sadly, I do not have a monitor this afternoon, which means I have got no idea of what exactly VM is filming, which basically makes me feel blind.
She gone out of frame yet? Or in the bushes?
Yeah, she's the one.
Yeah.
tiny little camera off the vehicle, and then I will have a monitor that actually works, which will be great. Okay. And I think we're going to drop Nick off now, get him onto Peter's vehicle. They're just up ahead of us. And then once we've dropped off Nick, we'll then continue on looping here to try and find these elephants. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Toodle-doo.
Hey, man.
Hello, Brent.
Hello, brothers.
Hello, Mr. William. Hello, Molly. Have a wonderful afternoon. Is Nick jumping off now, Peter?
No, let's stick with you a little bit more. So,
Okay. Cool. Clearest plans have been made, hence the confusion there. Not an issue though. Okay, so we're going to send you across to James while we try and get ahead of these elephants, and hopefully it won't be long before we find them again.
Wonderful elephant. As you can see, the elephant herds have kind of agglomerated into these big ones. Scott had a big one this morning, possibly the same herd now of 30, which is quite big for this area, and Brent had another big one. And you find that those herds will slowly kind of dissipate into their more normal 15, 20, and that's the kind of
Well, it sounds like James is in a bad signal area, and that's why you have been rushed back to me, but that's fine. We shouldn't take too long to get to those elephants again. We've been following a little riverbed that the road doesn't follow, so we've just looped ahead, and what they could actually be doing is heading to another waterhole where the water may be slightly fresher and purer than the waterhole that they stopped at earlier. And elephants are incredibly fussy when it comes to not only what they feed on, but also what they drink. It's not to say they won't drink muddy water if that is all that's available, but if they know that it's not too difficult to get to some fresh water, they will usually go out of their way to do that. I did just see them. They are just on the left of us, but what I'd like to do is turn the vehicle around so that we are facing them, and then they should come streaming straight past us. I wonder which pathway they shall take. Always a bit of a gamble when trying to predict an animal's movements, which is quite an important thing when on safari, because by parking the vehicle in the best spot you will get the best views. I think this is going to work quite well. Here they come. Absolutely awesome, perfect afternoon sunlight coming through the clouds onto them now. Two kind of youngsters in the middle there, and now comes another big cow behind them. Really nice big cows in this herd. What's quite interesting, let's take a look at this one at the back quite closely, Liam. Her tusks have got really clear notches on both sides, which indicates that she's ambidextrous, and she'll use both tusks to aid in feeding when breaking off branches from trees. Usually it's a lot more lopsided and it'll be clear on one tusk but not the other. So she's obviously a talented lady. Okay, well, now we need to loop ahead one more time. They are heading straight towards this other little water hole, and it'll be great to get there before them, so hold on everyone. We're going to have to race. Oh, surprise me, behind there, another one above us. Behind there, another one above us, and here we go. Hello to Richard King, and good to have you on board with us, Rich. Rich is wondering whether elephants become more wrinkly as they become older. Those are pads that you can hear screeching as we drive along. Can't see them, but they're here somewhere. Sorry, Rich. Back to your question as to what will elephants' wrinkles do as they become older. It really does depend on the individual. There's some small calves that can sometimes be incredibly wrinkly. So as they approach this water hole, we are going to be able to take a closer look for ourselves and be able to make some calculations. Look at the rest of them all coming through along a very well-worn pathway. The one in the front here is sampling the water. So now that the youngsters have arrived, Rich, I mean, I guess some of them do look a little bit less wrinkly than the adults, but when they're very newborn they can be incredibly wrinkly, like I said earlier. What you will certainly notice, Rich, is the temporal dents around the heads of these older cows become quite deep depressions compared to young cows or even young bulls. So just behind the eye or above the eye and the forehead you may see some deep dents on the older females. That will be the same with the old bulls, and depending on how she moves there, just above that little wet patch that's leaking behind her eye, that's where you'll see the first temporal dents, just above that temporal gland. And those are good indicators of age. Older elephants have those deeper depressions, and I guess that can be related to humans. As we get older, some of us will look like that. But what I can tell you, Rich, is that a lot of dried mud, and elephants will often cover and spray themselves in mud to try and cool down, but also to help prevent prevent parasites from having free reign over their skin. The thick mud will obviously create a preventative layer. It will also encompass the bodies of parasitic ticks in a thick muddy clay, and then when the elephant then goes and rubs against a tree, those little parasites will be peeled off. This big cow's kind of blowing water out of her trunk at such a high pressure, it's just steaming off towards us. I can't feel it though, but the wind is blowing towards us, and if she does it again, we could actually possibly feel some of that moisture in the air. There she's sampling with her little trunk again. You can see her prehensile fingertip very clearly, or you could a little bit earlier, differentiating the African elephant from the Indian elephant that lack that little fingertip. Oh, that was awesome. Oh, I can hear some more elephants trumpeting down in the riverbed. Oh, I can hear some more elephants trumpeting across the bushveld. It's a lot drier than it normally is, and most of the water points that would be full of water, or filling up with water at least by this time of the year, are bone dry. So it's no surprise that elephants are moving from far and wide. It's the bushes, and you're right, Daniel, it is. It's a beautiful injection of green. It is our summer rainfall season, well, it's supposed to be, so all of the plants have kind of activated their new shoots and growth, but we haven't got nearly as much rain as we should have. And on top of that, our last rainy season this time last year was also quite unproductive. We got about half the rain that we should have received. So it is going to be tough times. It could change, and if we keep having stormy, rainy conditions like we had this morning, it's definitely going to help the animals like the elephants or the herbivores that rely on the vegetation to survive. The predators wouldn't be hugely ill-affected by a drought. If anything, the predators may benefit from a drought because there's going to be lots of weak and easy prey. So that's just something to think about, that we are in a bit of a drought at the moment. It's nothing too serious for now, but it could get that way. I know not just here in the Sabi Sands, but throughout South Africa and even Africa, there's big effects of El Nino. So we are trying to be as water wise as possible. Not that you should be more or less at any time of year. It is such a precious resource. But a lot of the provinces, or states, we call them provinces here in South Africa, have already installed big water restrictions. There are a lot of problems at the moment that farmers are facing. So tough times not only for the wild animals but also for the humans. This is incredible. These elephants are all around us. Hello. That looks like the behavior of a young bull. Oh no, I'm wrong, it's a little girl. But she decided she would show us how big and tough she could be. Walking up to the vehicle, they're giving a little bit of a head shake. It's great to learn from the young elephants with these body language signs, because they're usually coming up in an inquisitive and stronger and maybe older and more moody, and they do shake their heads at you. At least you kind of get what they are going for. He's enjoying taking some photos. He's a wonderful photographer, and I'm sure he's loving being back in the bush. He is desperate to take you guys on safari, so don't worry, you will be getting taken around by him soon. But for now, we've got him just easing into things here, getting to grips with his camera. He's got a new lens which he's playing with, and there's also Brent and Molly, another Nat Geo guest on that vehicle, along with William, Aubrey's tracker. So that's who's enjoying this magical sighting with us. Now, elephants can take on huge amounts of water when the going's good like this. And James has just asked how much water can they actually drink in one sitting. And we're obviously on the same wavelength, James, because as you sent me through that question, that was what was going through my mind. They could easily take on 100 liters in one sitting, and I've even seen an elephant drink out of a 20-liter bucket. It was a rehabilitated elephant who was moved out of an area where they were being harassed and maltreated. Anyway, this elephant, he was a young bull around 20 years, but it's a big animal, even a 20-year-old elephant, so just as big as these cows, you could say. And he inhaled 20 liters of water in his trunk and then pushed it into his mouth in about 2.5 seconds flat. So an incredibly quick procedure to drink as much as, oh no ways, she nearly wet us. And I guess, James, that emphasizes how useful their trunks are and how much water they can actually hold. You saw a lot of water coming out of that trunk. So yeah, easily up to 100 liters is the answer to your question though, James. They can take on huge amounts, and in cases where water is scarce, they may take on even more than that. You get some areas of Africa where elephants occur in deserts, and there they will certainly take on water in big quantities rather than relying on quick and easy drink. Oh, look at this one now. It's the perfect fountain. Coming in here that sound quite excited and agitated. I can't see any. The one elephant in front of me is blocking the view. But let's see what happens here. It could be a little bit of argy-bargy, and thankfully that doesn't appear to have a spot. Wasn't that awesome? Well, we've been getting all different shots so far this afternoon, and I know Vim just had you on the ear there. If we can get a look behind the ear, when she tilts her head and opens her ear up again, look closely, you'll see a network of very large arteries and veins, some probably as thick as our fingers, but she's not really giving us that option anymore. But we'll keep an eye out for that, and as soon as VM does see a good opportunity to show you the back end of an elephant's massive ear, you'll see those great veins. There we go. And those ears make up about 20% of the surface area of the elephants, and it's oh, look at this. Oh, they're really holding out their ears. You would think that these elephants can understand what I'm talking about, because they are literally doing exactly what we said. VM's now pointing across to some more elephants. I'm not sure what's going on. Looks like two youngsters having a bit of a tussle here. And there's a third one that's wanting to get involved in the action, or maybe that's the referee. The other two are perfectly sized. And what a show this is. Absolutely awesome. It's all about timing when on safari, and we've got incredibly lucky. All the time that we've spent with this herd, they've been on the move until now, where they've stopped and started putting on a variety of very awesome interactions. To the point where you could actually even see the tongue of these young ellies, close-ups on them rubbing their eyes. We've got a herd of elephants just meters away from a viewing deck at the one Djuama camp here. And imagine if this was between safaris, you'd be sitting here in your private lodge and you could come out onto your viewing deck and enjoy this beautiful elephant sighting literally from Gallagher Camp. And this is Gallagher Camp. It's the one of two camps here at Djuama. The other one is Vuyatela. Both wonderful. And this little waterhole, I'm sure, provides a lot of great sightings for the guests who come here. Not only between the drives in the day, but also at night. Imagine, oh, what are you guys getting up to next? But also after dark. I've heard of several times we wake up in the morning and Aubrey or Texan mention that their guests either saw a lion or leopard drinking from this very same waterhole. And Karula, the female leopard that we started the safari with this afternoon, could well come here to drink a little bit later, either here or the Djuama waterhole. Those are her two closest water points. Some wonderful bird song this afternoon, and almost on a daily basis we are getting spoilt with wonderful sounds. All the birds are breeding, already have done their breeding, and now they're raising their chicks. Still haven't managed to actually show you a woodlands kingfisher, so that's something that I look forward to searching for. I know that James was searching for one around the Djuama waterhole, and then minutes after the safari, the Zumi found the woodlands kingfisher sitting on a tree there. So some of you have seen one, but we haven't actually managed to find one on one of the live drives just yet. So obviously the matriarch of this herd has decided that it is now time to move on, and she's probably the one right in front. Can't be certain though. I think it would be a fair assumption to make that she's one of the big ladies, and she's taken this decision upon herself to keep the herd going, just as she would have probably been the one to decide to come here for a drink. that have been protected by these fallen down branches, are kind of like a natural nursery, keeping those little saplings safe from most other plants, but not the elephants, who have the ability to be able to move away the dead structure that's keeping those little plants safe. But now you're not going to be able to see that, because the female that I thought was only going to have one more sip has had 4 more sips of water, and she's blocking the view. So that's a good example of when the elephants or the animals don't agree with our plans and what we're saying. Well, there we go. Now you might be able to start seeing the ones in the background, literally in and amongst these fallen down trees, cashing in on the nursery that was there until they came in and started moving everything around, and try and find out what exactly is getting their attention down there.
Hello everybody, sorry you've come back to us quite suddenly, and we had our radio unplugged, so you heard the dulcet tones of Tara Dales there, which of course is a rare pleasure that you very seldom get. Now we have been at Buffelshoek Dam, and there were some hippopotami lurking. I can just tell you, Brian, sorry, I'm going to hug you here. You see the falcon there? There's a falcon, everybody. It's called an Amur falcon, as far as I can tell, normally in a very large flock. You can see that that one has either irritated his friends or got lost. Anyway, pretty indistinct from that shot, and that's not, of course, Brian's fault. That is the fault of the speed at which the Amur falcon is flying, but I will show you a picture of one of the two of which he could be. And they're catching insects, and I was hoping that he would circle around here. There are a whole lot of... What they do is they catch insects in the air, but not with their beaks. They catch them with their feet, and then they kind of bring their feet forward and put the insects into their beaks, and then they fly off and keep doing it. It's an astonishing thing to see when there is an insect emergence. And of course, like we were when there is an insect emergence, and of course, like we were mentioning earlier on today, we've had all those termites coming out of the ground, and that's the kind of thing that Amur falcon is going to be catching. Anyway, I was telling you about Buffelshoek Dam, where there were obvious questions why, but if you haven't been, we've been watching the progress of a little clutch of 7 Egyptian goslings, and unfortunately 3 of them have moved on to different shores in a greater light, if you like, and the rest of them are seemingly thriving. But the reason they've lost 3 goslings is not hard to see. They're thriving, but the reason they've lost 3 goslings is not hard to see. Those parents are very neglectful at times. They disappear and they go off eating, and the little goslings are left to their own devices. So not hard for a water monitor or a bird of prey like a sparrow hawk or something like that, and even a large terrapin, a serrated hinged terrapin that lives in those big water bodies, would quite happily eat a gosling for breakfast or lunch. Corner, and then head down our eastern boundary and see if anything hasn't crossed. Now, yesterday we came to Buffelshoek Dam, and we're extremely privileged to find the 5 Birmingham boys, 5 almost magnificent male lions. They're not quite magnificent yet, they're still quite young, and they were with a consort, a member of the Styx Pride, a female who was seemingly disappeared. So the 5 males were found on Cheetah Plains today. Oh, Brian, just look at that. Look at the rain there. Sorry, we're just going to show you. I'm not going to point. I'm going to ask Brian to point the camera off to the west there, and you can just get a picture of this amazingly subtle light that is falling on us. And as he zooms in, you'll be able to see the rain falling gently in the far west. There's a little bit of rain, and that I think is combining with those crepuscular rays, so the rays of sun breaking through the clouds there and shining onto the mountains and the villages that nestle in the foothills. Very lovely. Only positive feedback is very important. And so that lioness who's with the males is MIA. We don't know where she's gone. Now, I know that the lion dynamics of the area have been particularly interesting to a number of people, and certainly to us. And we've all been fascinated by what's been going on. And the fact that she was with them and seemingly mating with one of them indicates, and she's left the rest of the pride, indicates that she's either come into estrus, but I think more likely into something called anestrus, which is the time during which a female will she'll come into a kind of estrus, but she won't ovulate, and that is to try and sort of secure a bond. There's a diagram. Try and secure a bond with the new. that's what we think was going on there. So maybe she's returned to the pride, and that's what she's doing there. Right, the elephants are still drinking with Scott. Let's go across to him, and I'll see you a bit later.
Well, happy to hear that the Birmingham Coalition have been found. Sadly, not where we can go, but at least we know where they are. Isn't this great? Some elephants have come back to drink, and I actually think that this could be the same female and calf that we saw having those last few sips before they headed off. I can't be certain. I'm not sure what you guys think. Look at how worked up they got there. Look at this. This is really interesting. The other female gave that calf a little bit of a push there. What was that all about? Hard to understand the personal dynamics between individuals and elephant herds, and whether these are in fact from the same herd or a different herd that has come into contact with one another in the past. It's not uncommon for herds to join up with other herds and then fragment at different stages. So can't be certain as to what's going on here. There are a few more elephants that I have also just seen that are going to be popping into our view shortly, and here they come. Isn't this a wonderful sighting? Also quite nice to be on a lower angle. And hello to Mr. Moustache, who I believe is watching in Iceland. So that's not only a unique name, but a unique place to be watching. I hope all is well in Iceland. I've never been, and hopefully I'll be able to come and visit you there one day. Well, Mr. Moustache would like to know, I'm just going to stay here actually, there are some eddies approaching from our left that we can wait for. Mr. Moustache would like to know, when elephants trumpets or make these noises, are they coming out of the end of the trunk or are they coming out of the mouth? Now, that's a great question. It actually depends on the individual frequency they're making. There will be a combination of nasal trumpets as well as vocal trumpets from the actual mouth, and then deep rumbling, which comes from, I guess, their stomach and some kind of internal organs. I think it could even be their lungs that have some impact on how they have this really insane ability to let off this deep rumble. So a combination, I think, of noises being expelled from the end of the trunk, kind of like us making a nasal noise, also vocal from a regular spot like the mouth, and some organs that can let off those loud rumbling vibrations that you can hear. Good question, Mr. Moustache. And there is a wide variety of different noises that elephants will make. And it all depends on their kind of general mood as to what noises they will make. They can make very terrifying screaming noises. Elephants, disciplined by their parents, weaned off milk, situations like that, the young elephants can really make a racket. There's a wonderful scene out to the west with that spotted cloudy horizon below what is a very big bank of clouds, but still looking promising for no rain. So I guess we're being a bit selfish. It'll be good for the safari but not good for the drought. Get into different spots. I can take this time to chat with Charlotte in Denmark, and she's take this time to chat with Charlotte in Denmark, and she's interested to know a little bit about elephants and there drinking, and so is Jeff. So Charlotte would like to know something that I've gone completely blank on, which happens from time to time. Apologies, Charlotte. I have completely forgotten what you would like to know, but I do know it's got something to do with drinking. But I can answer Jeff's question. He would like to know if elephants can get sick from drinking dirty water. Very, very low in level, and most elephants will to survive drinking just about any kind of water as long as it's wet and moist. Elephants will drink it, but like I said earlier, they will be fussy when they can. So when the situation allows, oh, there's another one popping out here. Sorry, Charlotte. Dig next to a waterhole. Charlotte's once seen elephants digging into the sand right next to a waterhole in order to get to below the water table and then drink up the water that would start filling up in its well. And Charlotte, it's a good question, and the main reason I can think of for that is because it's trying to access more purified and clean water. By drinking out of a muddied waterhole that's been filled with various animals' dung, it's going to be a better option to dig your own well in order to get to water. I've never seen them digging right next to a waterhole that was full of water in order to get to other fresh water, but I have certainly seen them doing it where they have not been able to access water. Then they start mining for it. Oh, we're in luck, everybody. There are some animals that I have not seen for some time, and they are hard at work on the left-hand side of our vehicle here on the ground, and with the little camera that we've got, we are going to be able to get you some awesome close-up views of a really industrious animal called the dung beetle. And how cool are these things? Oh, one's just flown off. Alerted to their presence. Not too sure what dung that is. It looks like it could be Inyala dung that they're busy feeding on. Now that looks right to me, but it has already been broken up by them. Have you still got it there, Liam?
Yes.
Is that a female hanging onto the side already of the ball of dung?
No.
Is it another one though?
Another ball of dung.
Oh, it's an unprocessed ball of dung. Interesting. So you get lots of different types of dung beetles, everyone. Some that will transport their balls of dung quite large distances before laying an egg in them and then burying them. Dung, so they'll just create a ball that they roll up themselves and then bury it straight down. So different types, and this one seemed to be the one that was rolling it away. I'm not sure where it's got to. Let me see if I can reposition the vehicle, get another view. And sometimes what you'll see is the female actually hangs on to that ball as the male rolls her off into the sunset. And then it's usually just one egg that's laid within the ball. And then when that egg hatches in the ball, it's got a wonderful larder of food to feed on. So I can see the pile of dung. I can't see where the beetle is. Have you got it there, Viam? Against the log. You should be able to see there's a little bug buzzing around the actual dung. Just landed on it. And actual dung just landed on it. And you'll see it moving now.
I can't tilt down anymore.
Sorry everyone, again I'm blinded by the fact that I don't have a monitor. Is that better? May have heard a branch breaking there. That's an elephant snacking nearby. There's also a lot of bird chorus at the moment. Now I know we don't have the best view, but it'll be interesting just to wait a little bit longer to see what happens next. Interesting that other dung beetle came in, had a look around, but obviously didn't like this dung very much and then flew off. And we've hardly seen any. I think I've only managed to show you one so far this summer season. So happy that they are back in action, and that would have been brought about by the very recent rains. We also had a huge amount of reproductive termites emerging from some underground. Leaving their burrows yesterday, even more flying ants or reproductive termites were out today, and now the dung beetles. So a lot of the big stars of the show, like the elephants we've been viewing. It's incredible the strength of this dung beetle. I mean, it's moving so much earth now. Watch closely. And it's lifting up a huge amounts of soil and earth. I think I'm actually going to jump. Here, but I can see, I mean, it must be a very awkward scenario for him to have to dig with a mound of dung on top of him, trying to get the soil out the way. What I'm interested to see is how long it's going to take for him to leave and then come out and possibly roll another ball of dung that he may take off and bury elsewhere. I'm not too sure how many balls of dung a termite see the soil being pushed up kind of behind where the ball of dung is. I've got a feeling he could be coming out. Watch closely here. The ball now what you'll sometimes find is animals living inside them, and you'll actually see them digging up little balls of dung. Oh. Watch closely. Somewhere here. So even though there's food for its egg that it's laying, it's not a sure fix, and it's no guarantee that a predator will not find it. On a bushwalk I did not too long ago, some of you will remember, we actually managed to find a hard case of dung, and it was a perfectly round ball that understandably hardens on the outside. Young larvae would feed on it from the inside out. I'm not too sure how much longer this dung beetle is actually going to be down under the ground here, excavating for this dung ball. So what we're probably going to do is send you across onto James's vehicle for a quick update on what he's up to. I am going to stay here though and keep an eye on this dung beetle, and I'll be sure to call you guys back as soon as we see any sign of it emerging from its little digging session.
Well, we have found something. It is a truck full of humans, Homo sapiens sapiens. Case is purely a Smith, three eminent persons, the eminent Peter Pretorius and and William. Okay, we'll see you later.
Hello everyone. Just a quick hazard. I'll only be on.
Alrighty.
I'll get one more.
See you later.
Quickly.
Thank you so much, Peter. Yes, it's not embarrassing at all.
No.
Okay, I'm leaving now. Goodbye. Cheers, guys. Alrighty, now, it's enough silliness for the day. Marvellous having Peter back, of course. It's enough silliness for the day. Marvellous having Peter back, of course. Teeth and shave our heads when they need to be shaved. Right. We had a question about termites and that's from Ashley in Derby. And Ashley, there is a huge difference. I'm just trying not to. I'm hoping we're going to see a little termite emergence as the sun comes out here, so I'll drive very slowly along. A flying ant, in the true sense of the word, is in fact a flying ant, and in many respects very similar to a flying termite. There are some beefaloes who leave the ant colony and go off and start another colony somewhere else. A flying termite, which is what that video that Scott made is of, is just that. It's a flying termite, and sometimes they are confused. They're just sort of referred to ubiquitously, and certainly as a child I used to call them flying ants, but actually what we mean is they are flying termites. So, and they are, I mean, they're as different from each other as, what can I say? They're as different from each other as we are from the buffalo in front of us. In fact, probably even more so. Who are not perhaps big fans of insects. So we have some buffalo bulls here. There we go. They will be loving the fact that we've had this rain, not so much for the water, but for the fact that the grass in the last 2 days has covered the place in a kind of golden green sheen, and you can see that with the sun behind these buffalo now. And after the long winter of eating nothing, grass, a bit like, you know what it's like, it's It's like us going through lean times obviously there were times when our species did go through very lean winters and we had to store food, and at the end of the season you're eating kind of a bit of dried deer meat, possibly the odd oatmeal biscuit. Flush of beautiful grass, and although you can't touch it or feel it where you are, the sense that light shining off it is giving you will give you an accurate representation of what it feels like. I'll pick some just now. And they'll feed along happily into the evening. It's been the temperature for this time of year now is so pleasant. It really is just absolutely perfect. You don't need a jersey. I don't need Brian. You haven't even bought a warm jacket, you have, just in case. Yeah. Brian is very terrified of the cold, but it is the most perfect temperature. And it's almost like these grazers and browsers have just kind of breathed a sigh of relief as the rains come, just like we have, So dry and so hot and so dusty. And now it's all green again. I tried to catch a dung beetle. Unfortunately, all I've succeeded in doing is putting him on the floor. He'll take off again shortly. I've tried that since I started in the bush. I've been trying to catch. And that is the closest I've ever got. If the buffalo weren't here, I'd get out and show him to you. I think he thinks he's been knocked down by a predator. Anyway, we'll pick him up, send him on his way just now. I think we'll follow these chaps for a little bit longer and then we'll head down south. Towards twin dams. I'm always fascinated to know how much the water is going to fill up the dams. And certainly Bivelshoek Dam, you would not notice that it had rained there. As we go, you can taste some, everybody. Just take a chew of that. There you go. Surreptitiously through Brian. I wouldn't sprinkle it on my salad this evening, but there's a pig. A lot of water through there that we'll try and get it. What's the opposite of a foe? Baboon spiders. One of those are all open now, and if we find one, I'll certainly try and remember to show you. Lots are on quarantine around where Karula was with that impala in the tree, but fairly harmless. And some of the most relieved animals that we have out here will be those warthogs. They really don't like the drought at all. With their short, stumpy little legs, it's difficult for them to move too far to water. So they'll be most relieved for the odd puddle that now exists in the bush here. Above us, the sound of the European bee-eater. Here they come, there they are. And I'm sure that these European bee-eaters are not eating bees at all, but here they come, there they are. And I'm sure that these European bee-eaters are not eating bees at all, but emerging termites. Look at them, they're a wonderful kind of squadron. And they're designed exactly like we're always amazed by people that are able to catch, say, a cricket ball or a baseball going at probably 120 kilometers an hour, 100 or almost 100 miles an hour sometimes. And these birds are catching these tiny little things doing about the than this, and I think they're so relaxed because they're so happy to be eating all of this fresh food. They really couldn't care less about us at all. So from the diamond capital of the world, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in Antwerp, Belgium, Hilda, on the subject of dung beetles, you want to know how many eggs they lay in a season. Is it only one? Hilda, it will depend very much on the species, of course. There are over 900 species of them. Those ones that I think Scott was showing you are the dung rolling kind, and they will definitely lay more egg. So it will only be one egg per ball, as far as I'm aware, and then they'll make other balls throughout the season, and then they will eventually die at the end of the season, having probably buried, I don't know, say 10, or no, probably more, probably up to 20 or 30 different balls of dung. Let's roll forward. Well, Jigger doesn't roll. Roll. All right, let's go back to Scott while we move around these buffaloes. Sorry, there was a tree that leapt up behind us. Very shocking experience. Let's go back to Scott. He's going to head back towards
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing...
Sorry about that little glitch, but you are back on safari and I'm happy to have some more company. We are still probably about 5 minutes away from Karula, a female leopard, who we saw a little bit earlier on the drive, for those of you who may have tuned in more recently. And I'm guessing she is still going to be around. She's got an impala kill that she's probably going to finish off at some stage this evening. We might get lucky and find her on the last few scraps tomorrow morning, but I'm guessing she'll probably be gone in the morning. Anyway, that's tomorrow's problem to worry about, and this evening we are certain we are going to lay eyes on her, but we're just not sure whether she's going to be asleep or whether in fact she's going to be on the move, up in the tree that she's got her impala kill hoisted in. Now what may happen, we're trying out our eyes in the sky, a drone, and at any point you could be crossed up into the sky for a bird's eye view of us as we make our way towards Karula. And there you are, up in the sky. I'm so jealous that you guys have got that view. Oh, now I can see the drone. And you probably can't see me, but I'm giving you a big wave, and I'm heading down the main access road which leads us towards the two camps at Djuama, and then you'll see a road junction up ahead, and that's where I'm going to be turning right, and you'll see another vehicle parked up ahead there, possibly, and that's where Andrew, our drone pilot extraordinaire, is commanding this device from. And Jamie and Nikki and Kirsty are also there. And now we're on the central road that runs through the quarantine clearings. There's another kind of road that runs around the circumference of it to my left, and another one to my right. There's a little herd of impala also just down to my right hand side that you may be able to get a glimpse of, although no, the drone's up there on the left. And welcome back, the drone. I wonder if VM can try and catch it quickly. It's just looping up to the west now. And wasn't it cool that that's what was taking you on safari just a few moments ago? And now VM's in the perfect spot to probably just drop down and zoom out and reveal the beautiful clouds as well as a herd of impala that we're just driving past here. And it looks like the drone is coming back for a closer look of these impala. This is going to be absolutely awesome, guys. They're very close to us, and the good thing about impala is they typically don't react negatively to drones. Certain animals will, and that is the last thing we want to do. So be aware that that is certainly not our intentions. And now you'll be able to see some wonderful visuals of this herd. And isn't this awesome? Okay, well, I'm sure you enjoyed that, and exciting stuff playing with the new toys here. We're going to make sure the drone doesn't follow us any closer though. As I mentioned, we don't want to interfere with animals, and certain animals will probably react differently to the drone compared to others, and we're guessing that Karula, a leopard, will be less welcoming of the drone and probably more tuned into the fact that it's there. So we're going to keep it behind us, out of the way, and go back to Karula, who was last lying on the right hand side of this road. She could well have moved by now, as it was over an hour ago that we last saw her. She's just so well camouflaged though that she could be lying in a different spot and we could drive straight past her quite easily. Or a little bit later on. That should work well. And as the sun begins to set, we're going to get some incredible colors popping up behind her. Oh, this is interesting. She's bought a VM. Can you see that? And make it. And she's taken it down from the tree and brought it here as a little snack. I wonder when she did that. I didn't notice that kill earlier. When we did come here, she was lying not on this termite mound, but a little bit above it or below it. And there was no sign of that kill, so maybe she went and fetched it while we were gone. Hard to be certain though. And like I said a bit earlier, there is a lot more of the adult female impala up in the kill, up in the tree. Probably about 10 to 15% of that remaining. Hello to Ravi in New York City, and good to have you on board with us. Ravi has and I think it certainly has aided to that fact exactly, Ravi. So I think you are spot on. But leopards and lions and most carnivores will feed on carcasses that are infested with maggots. It's obviously not ideal. Portions of the carcass that have not the quick view of them, and then we're going to hustle you across to James's vehicle, who's found another kind of a leopard.
Well, everybody, we did our level best to stay with this animal, but as you know, they are extremely fast and wily.
it is, you'll probably also notice that those rosettes are moving quite heavily and she's panting deeply, and that's because even though it's cloudy, it's still fairly warm here. And more importantly, in this case, she's got a belly that's full of impala meat pushing up against her diaphragm, which causes her to only be able to take short, sharp breaths. And I'm hoping that little furry belly that you're looking at now has got a few tiny cubs in it. She's long overdue giving birth, and her last cub that was seen was early this year. Tragically killed by a hyena, but this does happen often. Leopard cubs and lion cubs, but what's interesting is that since she last had a confirmed cub, it's been almost a year and 3.5 months, with just a 3-month gestation period, and as soon as 2 weeks after losing a cub, she could already be mating again. So not too sure what the problem is here, whether she's been picking the wrong males or whether she has lost the ability to give birth. Who knows? She's certainly not too old to. She's only 11 years old, and leopardess into their late teens have been recorded giving birth. But anything older than 20 would be considered an exceptionally old leopard, just to give you an idea of their longevity. Or whether we should go and come back in 15 or sure, but let me know what you guys think, and while we wait for you to send through your thoughts as to whether we should stay or whether we should.
Well, one of the residents of this area that will be extremely pleased to hear that Karula has taken that young impala out of the tree, and it is now in an accessible place for this magnificent white-backed vultures. Now much the same as the hyena. They have received very bad press throughout the world. They are, in fact, some of the most fascinating creatures that we get out here, and very sadly, their numbers are dwindling quite heavily. We think that has something to do with the stock farmers that are poisoning carcasses, because they poison carcasses in the hopes that large predators won't kill their babies, kill their, the lambs of their stock. But unfortunately that affects birds very badly. And likewise, there is also, because of the vultures and their kind of traditional association with death, certainly around the world, but in Africa especially, and that's given rise to various beliefs that their body parts can be used for traditional medicine, for soothsaying, and various other kind of powerful spells and that sort of thing, and potions that some of the traditional healers out here make. And so there has definitely been an enormous reduction in their numbers. Anyway, this chap's okay, and he's a white-backed vulture, and the most common vulture that we find out here. Now, normally I was lying exactly where I was. I was somewhere in the bush. I was actually just lying on the ground, which is something I like to do quite a lot. And I saw a vulture flying so high above me that I thought it was impossible a bird could possibly be that high. They fly up to 800 meters. That is 2,800 or so feet above the ground. It's absolutely astonishing that a bird like that can get up there, A, B, maintain sufficient oxygen, and C, stay warm enough. I mean, 800 meters up is a long way. And these birds manage to do it, and how they see anything from there is quite astonishing. And you can hear the cicadas calling. You see the clouds moving behind this vulture. And I think that vulture is very much in the same space that Brian and I are at the moment. We both feel like there's just a beautiful, beautiful... Sorry, everybody. I was suddenly distracted by a Birchall starling. I think that's his nest. I saw him stick his head into the hole there. Let's see if he does it again. It's created warmth, three cicadas calling, birds everywhere. It's a really nice atmosphere. So you can see the hole there. Now the Birchall starling is a hole nesting bird, and so it's very likely that that's his little home. And I've been amazed by the number of hole nesting birds that I found here. And I mean, I hadn't thought about it before, I don't think, but all the kingfishers and all the starlings, the oxpeckers, those lilac-breasted rollers, the parrots, all of them need nest holes to go into. And I think if I was a bird, I'd rather be a nest builder than a hole dweller, because there's no real escape route from there. Once they're in, they're in. And if a snake came along there, well, it wouldn't be very hard to eat all the chicks. Isn't he lovely? That's the Birchall starling, one of 5 starling species we get here. And Nekjin, I have not seen the woodland kingfisher, also a hole nesting bird on the Djuama Dam cam that you've all seen. I did hear him again today. I heard him 3 days ago, and I heard him again today in the distance. Frustratingly, I haven't seen him. I think there are going to be quite a few now that we've had a bit of a little bit embarrassed and saddened that all of you have seen them and I haven't, of course. But please keep watching the Djuama Dam cam. I think you'll see lots of interesting things. You know, one of the best ways to learn stuff about being in the wild here is just to sit and be and look and listen and smell, and something will come past. Something amazing will come past at various times. It really is all about the time that you spend out here. And I often feel sad for people who can only take the time to come and spend, say, I don't know, to spend 3 or 4 days or even a week out here, because so much of that dung beetle, so much of that relies on luck, you know, and it's just such a privilege to be able to spend season after season in an area like this and see the different changes and the tiny nuances that come with time in an area, and the new different things that you see in the same place that you drive past every day, and suddenly you'll see a new flower or a new tree or a new bird, something that you've never noticed before. Right, so let's go back to Karula, see how she's doing with Scott, and I'll continue on my merry way.
Vehicles to show you some other wonderful views of her face, and there's also a better view of this tiny as to why she would have brought the kill down from the cheek. It would be a lot easier for a hyena to ambush her here, but I'm confident that because the little impala lamb is so small, she'd be able to carry it away in her mouth without slowing her down at all, and she'd be able to get up into a tree very, very quickly. So I don't think she would lose it. It's a bigger kill that would be harder to get up into a tree quickly. Yes, that certainly would be a bad option and a higher risk to lose towards hyena or to hyena. So that is a good point that you've pointed out, Sindek. Also, another thing you mentioned was, wouldn't it be more comfortable down here? And that's exactly why she brought it here. It's much more comfortable to feed. Would be on a termite mound for obvious reasons. So these things do happen on safari, and they are enjoying a wonderful time. Something very interesting, I'm not sure that you may have not seen before, is the guide's helmet that he's wearing. VM, once the guide has positioned the vehicle, maybe you can try and show a close-up on his very interesting hat. That is a tortoise shell that he is wearing on his head. It's a unique hat, but isn't that incredible? That's another wonderful and bizarre thing that could happen to you on safari in Africa. You just never know what is around the next corner here. Back to the leopard and the impala though. Well done, VM. Well, thank you very much for sending through your updates as to what you think we should do. And I agree with all of you. You all want us to head off. And I know James was talking to you guys about the different nesting habits of the various birds in this area. And the good news is there's a lilac-breasted roller nest, which is a cavity nest, not too far from here. And we've been monitoring the tiny little chicks that are growing up in there. There's 2 of them. And it's been a couple of days since I have popped in, so I'd like to go back there and monitor them. What I'll have to do though, for those of you who may be joining for the first time and not seen the lilac-breasted roller nest, is that I'm going to actually film with my little cell phone down into this cavity, because there's no way this VM camera would be able to do it, and then I'll show that video back to you. And what we may see is some wonderful sightings of the adults returning to the nest when we get there. Good evening, Billy. Good evening, everyone. This was from inside the stomach. Yeah. Yebo. Yeah, I think she's just bought it for a picnic. Yeah. Cheers, everyone. Enjoy. Thanks, eh? So, Billy was just asking me when did Karula kill this baby impala? So, I'm not too sure if he has been to the sighting before. So, I was just mentioning to him that it was, in fact, from the mother of the babies. They have apparently seen an impala lamb, and they're not too far from us, out to the east, and that was about 3 or 4 days ago. So the first impala lamb has been born, but not in our area yet. So really looking forward to seeing that. They're incredibly cute when they're alive and kicking. Switzerland, and Heidi's obviously been taking note of Karula's little tail twitching from side to side, and I'd like to know whether those movements are all instinctive movements or whether they're trained or taught. They must be instinctive, Heidi. most things that happen out here in nature are actually instinctive. Very few things are actually taught from a mother to its cub, and that's certainly the case with leopards. They are born with the instinct to chase small prey, and even if it's a tiny butterfly or a grasshopper, when they're a little cub, once it starts flying away from them or jumping away from them, if it's a grasshopper or a little frog, the leopard will naturally chase after it. So that's an example. What they are also predominantly built into their genetic makeup. What those twitches of the tail mean, Heidi, is very hard to say, but I guess you can kind of relate it to a dog or even an elephant. Most animals will hold up their tail or do something interesting with their tail in times of excitement or anxiety. And I know when leopards are hunting, they often twitch it from side to side. That'll be one moment where they're excited, understandably, and their tail will twitch. Often quite a lot, and to a degree where you may think, well, this isn't making too much sense. It's trying to creep up as carefully as possible with its tails moving from side to side. But usually you only notice the tail flicking and twitching when you're behind the leopard, and that's when you can see approaching will be black and dark in color, so harder to see. Oh, good news. There's an adult lilac-breasted roller, and it's up in the tree here waiting. With a kill in its beak. And oh, that looks like a dragonfly, but it's actually a praying mantis. And it's got its wings bent out to the side. Oh, look at this now, it's calling. And I can tell you why, Vim. There's an African harrier-hawk getting mobbed by a fork-tailed starling. There it goes straight down the road. And the other lilac-breasted roller came back. Isn't this awesome? Knocking it on the head. And the fork-tailed drongas are kind of part of the neighborhood watch policing system out here. But that's why this adult lilac-breasted roller started calling so insistently when this potential threat came through. And that same African harrier hawk, which could possibly dig into cavities, and that's predominantly what they do. They'll a quick view of them, and then we're going to hustle you across to James's vehicle, who's found another kind of a leopard. They'll use their legs, which are double jointed, to be able to reach into cavities.
Well, everybody, we did our level. Right, so everybody, there is a yellow-billed oxpecker.
Make it. And she's taken it down from the tree and brought it here.
See the flash of yellow? There we go.
As a little snack.
They just decided to go away from us, which is very irritating indeed. We stopped here at Twin Dams. Lovely view of two yellow-billed oxpeckers, and then as you came across they decided to turn around and hare off towards the drainage line. They took offence to something I said, I think. Oh well. C'est la vie, as they say. We'll try one more view. Right, so you can see now with the distance between us and the vehicle, 5 beefaloes. What a wonderful opportunity this is to have, I think, this incredible aerial view of what's going on. Not even the skills of Drone Commander Andrew Francis, however, will get a view of the yellow-billed oxpecker from there. And you can also see probably Twin Dams there. There we've got the yellow bills. We'll just try and get a view. Tip to the beak Now apparently they are more peckers than combers. So if you see the red-billed oxpecker feeding, oh, there's the one at the back there who's just had a swim. We watched him have a swim, and he's now drying himself on the buffalo's pelt. They tend to comb through the hair like that. Well, he's actually just having a good scratch. But they comb through the hair, and the yellow bills tend to be more peckers. They will happily live together. They don't interbreed, of course. They're not the same species. There you can see a yellow bill feeding with a red bill quite happily. They also are hole nesting birds. We were talking about them, and you're obviously looking at that incredible nest that Scott found. He really is a nest magnet, that fellow. Now, the reason, I'm getting so excited about a yellow-billed oxpecker, everybody, it must be slightly astonishing to some of you. They don't look particularly amazing. They don't look very different from the red-billed. But they are very rare. In fact, I think they actually might be endangered. And certainly in this area, not too uncommon further north in the Kruger Park, but here, not common at all. There they go, buffaloing away. So we'll just have a quick look at them from the air. And you can see the buff heading into the drainage line, and we're going to leave them as they head off towards the east. As the drone commander follows them round. This is just astonishing. They are now, you can probably get an impression of where we are. We're probably about 200 meters from those buffalo now, and yet I'm able to tell you about them while the aerial shot above them looks down upon an incredible afternoon. There's a big cloud building to the western side, and let's try and get a picture of that western horizon. It really is, it's starting to look quite ominous, which is very nice. This is just wonderful. So we're working, I just want to explain what we're doing here. We're working in tandem with Jamie's driving and Andrew is flying the drone, and so they know what we're looking at, we know what they're looking at via some very clever language from Tara. And the drone is up there and it's looking straight towards the horizon, or it's going to try and get a picture of the horizon. And no, it's not. It needs a battery. Oki, a brilliant question, very appropriate for this time. You want to know how long the drone can fly for. This particular drone can only fly for about 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes before it needs a new battery. And so Andrew carries 6 batteries with him, and then they drive around, see something they want to film, and then send it up into the air. And what we'll do, the battery change takes roughly 3 seconds. So I think we'll probably stand by here and see if we can't get it into the air, so you can get an aerial view of that big bank of cloud coming over here. I love days like today. I just find them so kind of atmospheric. And funnily enough, I was thinking about this the other day. I was editing a photograph, and Gail in Richmond, you want to know if we get lots of rainbows here. Gail, we do get rainbows. I've only seen one this season. Brian, have you seen?
I've seen out here.
Yeah, not that many for some reason, Gail. I suspect it's got to do with the fact that in fact, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know why we don't get them here. Oh, I do know why we don't. I'll tell you why we don't, Gail. We get them, just not that commonly, and I'll tell you exactly why. It's because we often get storms, and the storms come in from the west, and the sun sets on the west, and they come in the afternoon. So the sun is actually very seldom behind the rain. And if you don't have that, you don't have the sun reflecting off the water vapor and the water crystals and of all the other bits of water that there are in the air. So in fact, the one that I did rain often comes in from the west with the setting sun behind it. The drone is back up. You probably heard it just going past us. Incredible picture of the clouds as they billow and move towards us out of the south and the west. Oh, that must be a wonderful picture. You can probably see Treehouse Dam, twin dams from there. That's wonderful. So you can see the cut line, that's the southern boundary, that's the Gowrie main road we call it. It's our southern boundary, we can't go beyond that. And you can see rain building there. This is just magnificent. That drone is probably what, about 150 meters up? Brian, what do you think? Even higher?
Yeah, 150.
Yeah, 150 meters up. So you can see the rain coming in from the west. The clouds are actually not billowing in. They don't seem to be coming from the west. I don't know whether they're kind of swirling a bit around us, which is wonderful. A bit of wind picking up. Oh, what a wonderful way to see the world, especially this particularly precious part of the world. And I'm waving at the drone, of course, but you won't see that because it's so high up. Wasn't that? That must be amazing. I can't actually see what it's seeing, but I can just imagine if it looks good from here, what it must look like from there is incredible. Right, let's move on from here. See what else this wonderful reserve has on offer. We'll keep an eye on the rain though. We don't want to get caught out in the storm now. So we're going to head on to the south. There. And it's quite amazingly, Andrew has managed to re-find those buffalo bulls, Duggar boys. They're called out here. I can't see them. I have no idea where they are, but I think they're probably heading off in an easterly direction along. Just they've crossed that big kind of drainage line that we have running through the middle of Djuama, and they're going off, enjoying, as they were that other group that we saw, the new fresh green grass. Isn't that amazing? We're going completely the opposite direction. I'm able to tell you about things going on around us. Very special indeed. And that's due in no small measure to quite a lot of technical skill, operational skill and directing skill that's going on with the team here. Andrew's put on 4 jackets, he's freezing cold. Right. I think Scott will have an update now for a shot of those lilac breast. Roller chicks and probably a few other things too. We'll head across to him and I'll keep you posted.
So, the adult we were waiting patiently for with that praying mantis kill did eventually come in. drop it off before we could rush you back to us. It sounds like you were having fun though with James and the drone. And now that little mantis has been fed to the chicks, we're going to like the African harrier. Looks like they're already fast asleep. Do we need to be? You would think after doing this once before that I'd be able to do it again, but that is not the case. Come on. Oh, there they are. It's not at all easy to see them. You'll just see a few bright blue colorations, but evidence that they're there. I don't want to wake them up. So let me just show you the video quickly. It's probably the worst video I've taken of them to date, but at least, come on, you will be able to get an idea. It's not at all easy to see them. You can kind of see that bright purple coloration there. That's one of their heads. So there are two chicks in there, and what's interesting is that they are looking so much more like lilac-breasted rollers now. Their growth and development is so quick, and it was probably just about 10 days ago that we discovered this nest. They were basically bare. They didn't have hardly any feathers on them, no coloration whatsoever, and within about 10 or 12 days they're already looking like almost adult coloration. So we're going to keep monitoring them. It'll be interesting to see when they fledge. I don't think it'll be too long from now. Cool. Sorry about the poor quality of my video, but they were kind of in an awkward little corner of their nest, wedged in a spot where I couldn't get the camera angles right, not under pressure at least. It's far easier to come back here when we're not actually live with you, which is probably something I will do next time. But that is the world we live in, one that you can learn from things every day. That was a quick lesson learned for me. I was panicking trying to get the right shots for you, and was quite relieved that I at least got just a slight glimpse and that bright turquoise coloration of the lilac-breasted roller. So I think now we should certainly head back towards Karula, the female leopard we left a few moments ago. It's the stage of the evening when animals like hyena are going to start becoming active, and the hyena, oh, the camera went flying there. The hyena do know that there is meat there, and they do know that there will be more and more little bits of meat falling down from the tree, and not only that, there will also be a lot of bones on the adult female impala that Karula cannot feed on. So the hyena are going to keep passing by waiting for these little leftover pieces. And it sounds like James has popped across to yet another nest. This is not one in a cavity, and it's also a nest we have been monitoring. I'm so happy that he's gone there, and enjoy seeing the progress on those two little chicks.
Oh, people, this is just so special. From the one strategy of the whole nester to the glorious little cup nest that's been made by these white-crowned shrikes, also found by Scott, and both the parents are here. And so often people ask about families out here, because of course it's a very human thing to ask to have a family, and very few of the mammals ever kind of live up to the expectation of a loving set of parents and their well cared for youngsters. Well, here is a complete opposite case here. You've got both parents, mum and dad, and they're looking after their two little chicks which are about to fledge, I think. Look how perfectly they sit in that lovely nest. Now, I would prefer to have a nest like that. It's quite airy. See out of it, get out of it if you have to. It's just so neat and perfect. And the two little youngsters were begging from the parents. Food. Quickly to Scott. He's got something great.
Welcome back, everyone. And as I was saying before we sent you across to James, is that there's a strong chance that a hyena are going to be active. And just up ahead of us, VM, on the right of the road, the hyena's running away with what looks to be the fetus. There goes another young hyena. So our timing was off, but VM, you can leave the hyena now because I want to make the most of showing everyone where Karula has run. Oh, Karula, we told you earlier. Oh, this is interesting. The hyena does have a portion of the kill in its mouth, that adult hyena that we did see. And if we look here, we'll notice that she does still have the fetus. So she didn't lose the fetus to the hyena. And it must have been so awesome watching her clamber up this tree. Because it's probably about 6 meters up to that initial fork where she's resting now. So it wouldn't have been her easiest descent. And now she's keeping a close eye on those hyena. I can see both of them are at the base of the tree where she has the kill, or the remains of the kill, and I'm not sure how that hyena got a chunk of meat. Maybe it had fallen down from the tree and it was just carrying it around in its mouth. Absolutely incredible. Looks like she's falling asleep up there. Oh, shame. Now, yawning. Oh, listen to the hyena. I'm just going to reverse a bit and try and get into a spot where VM can actually show you that. Can at least show you what's happening there, as well as be in a spot where, in case Karula moves, we can show you her coming down this tree. I hope you heard that audio of them cackling. They were obviously kind of bickering amongst one another. Interesting, because the one hyena is so much bigger than the other one. The one kind of at the base of the tree now, behind the tree, is the biggest, and then look how much bigger it is than that smaller one. Oh, yeah, there we go. That explains things. That smaller one's certainly submissive towards it. And things seem to have calmed down there, and I'm just going to ask VM to now pan across to Karula, because we've got such a wonderful view of her here. She's beginning to lick this fetus. She could well be trying to remove the fur, and they'll do that by licking and plucking the skin. And it looks like she's going to start feeding on it. She'll make very short work of this lamb, and she'll eat everything. The skull, the hooves, absolutely everything. And she will continue to feed on baby impala until they're about 3 months of age, and even still consume the entire thing from head to toe, even from the ones that have been born. And Cheryl and Angie in Arizona would like to know what has taken her so long to feed on the fetus. It was probably one of the first things she removed from Karula. We told you earlier. Should get a bit closer now, VM. How's your view? Is it okay?
shot.
Okay, we can get a little bit closer, so let's do that. And it looks like the fetus doesn't actually have a head left, so it looks like the skull is gone. And Angie and Cheryl, we're not too sure exactly why she wouldn't have fed on it first, but I think it could be simply the fact that she was saving the best till last, the most tender, the most easy portion of the kill to eat. Who knows? It's certainly very interesting though, because we'll never have a conclusive answer as to why she has done this. But she has almost been storing it like it is going to be her little treat at the end. Oh, Liam, at the base of the tree, you can see her head is now looking straight down below us. And we're going to see her. And glad you got to see all three of them now in one shot. Now the hyena's plonked itself down. Karula's kind of looking around awkwardly, wondering what to do next. But she's got nothing to worry about up there. She's safe. So is her kill. I'm very interested that she went up this tree. Out of all of the trees that she had as options, it seems like the worst possible one she chose, but it all depends on where the hyena came from. And I guess how much of a fright she got when they did arrive. And just like earlier when she looked like she was falling asleep, even now in such a high and intense moment, perched 6 meters up in a fork of a tree, she's taking a little nap. And as we zoomed in very close on her sleepy eyes, you might notice the letters WOW, W-O-W, spelt out right in the middle of her forehead. You've got to kind of squint your eyes and think out of the box, but you could well see that very distinctive WOW patterned into her forehead. And we can see her spot pattern as well, which is the little black spots that go out just above the black dotted lines that her whiskers grow out of. And she's got 4 on her right hand side, which she's displaying perfectly to us now. The 4th one's very faint, but she's got 4 on the right and another 4 spots on the left. So she has a 4-4 spot pattern, but we're only seeing her one side now, and each leopard will have a different spot pattern, so that helps you to distinguish between the different animals. And it sounds like you guys are having some incredible close-up shots. Great now that she's really focused on something, possibly another hyena off in the distance. Now I'm thinking, because it's a windy afternoon, these hyena managed to get closer than they ordinarily would have. Had it have been a calm, still evening, she would have heard their footsteps rather, approaching. And maybe that's why they startled her, and that's what forced her to go up the most difficult tree to climb in the area. Because where she was lying on the termite mound, it's about 20 meters to the right of our vehicle, and between us and this apple leaf tree that she's perched in now, there's about 3 marulas that are closer by, and a marula's a lot easier to climb up. And also got a lot lower forks within the tree. So these are the zebras initially out in front of us. And isn't this crazy? It's probably can smell the wind is blowing kind of from us towards them. And Here's one marula, another one that's very easy to climb. That was between the apple leaf that she's currently in and the termite mound, which is directly off to our right at our kind of 3 o'clock. And there's also one even closer, another bigger marula further to the right over here, which again would have been an easier option. The forks in it are considerably lower down than the first fork in this apple leaf tree. And that gives you an idea of what was there. And there was another vehicle here. Too sure what was going on. I heard over the radio waves that there was another leopard here, there was hyena, 2 leopard. So I started racing wildly here, and that's when you guys jumped on board, which was perfect timing. You didn't miss a thing. You came in, which was always wonderful. So not too sure of exactly what went on. Billy was here kind of seconds before us, you could say. And again, Karula has fallen asleep. She's battling to get comfortable though, and that is the problem with using a tree that you've raced up without any planning. Getting some wonderful screenshots. So well done for those of you who are taking screenshots as well. If it is your first safari, it's important to know that screenshots are a great way to get involved and to capture thank yous and not apologies and gratitude to all of you who do that for us. It would be a never-ending job to thank you all individually, but we are extremely grateful for all of your efforts. This is quite a great angle now with the tail hanging down. Now, I'm told you can see the partially developed hooves of this leopard, which I mentioned earlier are very kind of soft and edible. They'll still be undigested when they exit the leopard on the other end, but it's important to know that nothing goes to waste.
Thing for a mammal to do, but it certainly is relatively unusual for giraffe to be doing. They are not thing for a mammal to do, but it's so big liars down, and that's because they become extremely vulnerable. They're going to look out for marauding lions or other predators. Lie down with its head on the ground, because that will just result in an enormous pressure buildup of blood in the brain, because the heart is so very, very big, and it's so default position. They don't have to hold, there's no muscle used to keep the neck up like that. That's the kind of default position, and they actually have to contract muscles in order to put their heads down. older bull. You can see his horns and his what is sometimes called a median horn, which I just think is a ridiculously fancy word for a calcification of the skull. And that basically comes from, but if you were to go into your bedroom and bash your head against the wall sufficient numbers of times, you too would develop what is a median horn on your head. I wouldn't suggest you do it. You don't really want one of those on the front of your head, and it does come from repeated bashing of the head against another giraffe and against their necks, and it probably also develops slightly without that effect because it will protect the skull during fights. Really doesn't look like a fighter though, that giraffe, does it? Very few giraffe do look like fighters. They all look very elegant and peaceful. You might in the distance be able to hear the sound of the frogs starting up. It continues to be a very beautiful evening, and I think you'll find that those giraffe, all of them, are having a bit of a doze.
I can at least show you what's happening there,
They can keep standing up so they don't
as well as
sit down.
be in a spot where in case Karuna moves we can show you.
That one there, his eyes are also closing, I think, Brian. They look very droopy-eyed. They're not even chewing the cud at all. So normally when you find them sitting still like this, they'll be chewing the cud frantically. Excuse me. Speaking of frogs, there's one in my throat. Was going to eat the cud had it reached adulthood, Karula and her impala.
So, as you can see, I'm 99% sure she is still aware of the hyena that's kind of sitting below her, slightly out of her view. And it's going to be interesting to see what she does next. I'm guessing she may start feeding on this carcass, and once she does, she'll probably... Oh, now she's having a look at the hyena, which is directly below her. And she's probably bumped into the same hyena on many different scenario, and has probably had many kills stolen from it. Now she started licking that fur again, and Deonta in Long Beach, California, is interested to know why does she lick the carcass like this. And it's hard to be certain, Deonta. I mean, cleaning to a degree, the fur is not coming off, and that fur is so soft and short from this unborn fetus that it's probably more of a habit than anything else. And she's just going to chew straight through it. She's going through the neck now and the spine. The head is already gone. The two front hooves are already gone from those little front legs that you can see sticking off in front there. And she'll be using the majority of the chewing she's doing now. She'll be using her back teeth like scissors to chew through these thick hunks of meat and bone. So the answer, sorry, I cannot give you a conclusive answer to your question, but I know with bigger impalas she'll certainly try as much as possible to entirely remove the fur from it, because it's a lot The hyena is going to be up in a flash. To try and gobble that up. And what I'm doing is I'm just also trying to keep an eye back on the kill just to make sure there's no other hyenas, or basically a 360 degree around us, just to make sure we don't skip a beat and miss anything. And after she made the kill, watch closely, her claws might be getting protruded from their little sheaths. Oh yeah, you can see that one claw there, look at that. Absolutely incredible. Now you can see that sheath I was talking about, and aren't we so fortunate to be seeing this? Ordinarily, they will be housed safely in that sheath when the leopard's walking around, kind of doing its general business, but when it's business time like this, those claws will be protruded from the sheath, and they'll be razor sharp. And we can now hear wildebeest alarm calling. That's very bizarre. Oh, oh, oh. There's a wildebeest stallion who has now spotted Karula in the tree. I think he's also keeping a close eye on the hyena below. Well spotted, Mr. Wildebeest, keeping your family safe. But none. Oh, it looks like she's about to go through the front right leg, chewing straight through all that bone. There we go. Well, sadly not. And she is a little bit far away, and she didn't do too much bone crunching there. She just swallowed that whole big chunk. Now, I know James was heading off to find you yet another bird's nest. Hard to believe, but we've been doing incredibly well so far this season, and I'll be sure to let you know when he is there. The last nest that you'll be seeing is the most simple and basic of them all, but very interesting nonetheless. And the good news is, it sounds like he's just got there and he's in position and ready to receive you. So we're not going to go anywhere, and be sure to be here when you get back.
So in the fading light of what little camouflaged golden brown eggs, I think she's been sat on these now for about a week, and they sit on their eggs for exactly 28 days, so about a month she has to sit on those eggs. That's quite a trial, I imagine. And Andrew, at least Brian, was just saying to me, what do you think she thinks about while she's sitting on those eggs? And I couldn't answer him, of course, and not being able to talk Senegal lapwing, I was unable to ask her. But they eat termites, so I suspect she thinks fondly of termites and her next termite meal. The interesting thing that I did read about them the other day is that they eat, or not eat, they're sometimes kleptoparasitized by fork-tailed drongos. What that means is that drongos will steal their food. They'll catch them, and a drongo watching from a nearby bush will flutter down and steal the termite or caterpillar that the Senegal lapwing has managed to catch, which is very unkind, of course, of the drongos. But that's just the way it goes. Right, let's go back to Karula. She's munching on blood, apparently. That sounds pretty grim. We'll move on from here and see you later.
Well, there goes the other front leg. Actually, just like the first one, it's kind of battling to work around, but she's getting there. So, Karula, a bit of an awkward part of your meal. Look at how long your whiskers are. This is so cool. The whole herd of wildebeest is now off to our right, and you wouldn't believe it, but there's also a herd of elephants joining. And I'm just going to put the kind of spotlight vaguely across to them so VM can show you where they are. It's not easy for them to work the super zoom of this camera, which I think he was using. Getting in and out of that zoom's tricky. And lots of wildebeest in the foreground, but the elephants are heading straight towards us now. And I know it's dark, but we can't shine lights on them because they're daytime animals. So we're just going to have to be patient and wait for them to get a little bit closer. There's a strong chance that these elephants are going to get worked up and try and chase this leopard or work out what's going on, and that's probably why they're heading straight here. They would have heard these distressed wildebeest and brought in their size and power to come and help however they can. The herbivores tend to have one another's back and keep an eye out for one another. This is going to be absolutely awesome. I don't know what to expect. The elephants for now seem calm, but they don't like predators, even though an animal like a leopard is highly unlikely to cause any danger to an elephant. The elephants still dislike them. The wind is swirling, so it's going to be tricky for the elephants to smell, but it is generally blowing in their direction. So they could well pick up not only the scent of the carcass, but also the leopard and the hyena. All three things they're not going to be hugely fond of. You can still hear the wildebeest's alarm calling. I'm trying to keep my body out the way here. So now, just to give you an idea of space, the elephants are probably about 30 meters away, not far at all. The elephant, can you believe this? And you even got to notice how she gave them a once over just to make sure she knows what's going on there. Now it's going to be very interesting to watch the hyena. And happy to come back later. What took you so long to realize that those elephants were coming? Okay, now let's try and watch closely here. The elephants are beginning to lift up their trunks. I saw the three right in front of us are, and they are now coming straight towards this leopard. This is going to be incredible. I'm just going to get a hold of Taxon quickly on the radio. Incredible. Taxing just myself with Karula. She's up in the tree finishing off the carcass, thumping Blov below her. Can you believe how awesome this is? Now the elephants are smelling exactly where the hyena was lying. So that's what the Ellies are doing. I'm going to use the spotlights a little bit just to illuminate their trunks. I'm not going to shine it in their eyes. And they're literally digging up where that hyena was. It was exactly there. Phenomenal. Now I find it highly unlikely that there's going to be a bulb or a fruit right underneath the tree there. And maybe there is, but maybe she's doing it purely out of kind of frustration. She doesn't seem frustrated. She seems quite relaxed, actually. But the leopard's continuing to feed on the impala, not even battering an eyelid. The elephants, I don't think, realize the leopard's right above them. I'm 99% sure that they don't actually know that. And just to elephants are incredibly powerful, but I don't think a smaller tree that an elephant cow could shake. I think a leopard's agility and tree climbing skills will overwhelm that and prevent it from falling out, so I don't think that would be an issue. And judging by Karula's body language, she does not have a worry in the world. Now she's giving them a bit of an eyeball. And she's making very short work of this fetus. Now the elephants are coming and giving us a bit of a closer look. They're all passing through that area of soil that was dug up by the elephants, by one of the cows again. That's something I've never seen before, but didn't see a bulb being eaten by the elephants. I think she was just scratching up that turf simply to kind of better process or get rid of that smell of the hyena, one of the two. What's remarkable is how quickly Karula is munching through this impala carcass. Not much left. You can see a little bit of blood trickling down this apple leaf tree. And I think she's kind of down to the back half of this little fetus. There's a little elephant trumpet there. There is one more Ellie that's about to pass below the tree in front of our vehicle. And then the whole herd would have moved off. Incredible stuff, this, can you believe it? Elephants and leopard in the same frame. And that hasn't happened too many times before on Safari Live, that I can assure you. Just keeping an eye on the elephant. It's coming, enjoying rather, watching. That she has been feeding on the adult female impala that was of her feeding on it tomorrow, finishing off the last little bits of the kill. But now it looks like she's getting some fur out and spitting it out. Not an easy job removing. Oh yeah, you can see a little bit of fur stuck on her lips And that often provides us with some funny visuals of the leopard in a bit of an awkward affair. Well, you'll be happy to know that the drone squadron is parked nearby with Jamie, Nikki, Kirsty, Jeandre and the pilot himself, Andrew. So we are not alone here, and always wonderful to have other crew out and about enjoying magical moments like this. That sighting that we've just experienced with the elephants coming past really was a unique one, and one that we will go many, many months, possibly years or our whole life again without seeing something quite as moving and special as that. And the great thing about this is that we are sharing these memories with so many people. And in a year's time, every single person involved in this live safari will be able to think back to this afternoon or this evening and collectively share wonderful, wonderful memories of what exactly has happened and what went down. And that's what's so important about the merrier. So keep spreading the word. There's still a bit of time left on the safari this evening. If you know of a friend who hasn't tuned in before, now would be a good time to tell them to tune in. Now that we have the Queen of Djuama up a tree with some wonderful close-up shots that VM's getting with the little camera, that little bushwalk camera. So close that I'm told you can even see a few ants running around up there. Very interesting question through from Barbara regarding the blood running down the tree. And it's a good one, Barbara. Barbara would have presumed that that blood would have congealed, seeing as though this fetus has been now dead for well into the 72-hour period. And I guess you're right, Barbara, to a degree. There will be certain blood that will congeal. That'll be the blood that is flowing through the arteries and veins of the animals, if that makes any sense. But there'll be, I think, other portions of blood. Now I'm getting myself into a mess here because I can't explain it too well, other than the fact that I know there can still be blood in and around the meat and the muscles. So I'm not too sure. I guess different types of blood will congeal faster than others. It's got a lot of your minds out there. Now, I don't have the same close-up views that you have, but I am being told of the... So, if you are a bit squeamish, be ready for some tricky visuals, but it is nature, and every mouthful that she takes is important for her future well. And I guess there's no neat or pretty way to go about feeding on a carcass when you don't have a knife and fork, and when you don't waste anything like this leopard does. Oh, we've got a visit today. And as she continues snacking, VM can pan down and show you this hyena. It looks like exactly it ran off earlier. I could be wrong. Isn't this great? You've got not only Karula but also the hyena. I'm going to turn my lights off. How's that look, VM, with just Texan's lights better? Good. Okay. Always tricky business at night with all the spotlights and where to film and where to shine and what the best options are. So forgive us for that, but we are trying our best to give you the best possible views. Look at this hyena. And there already could be some tiny bits that we put its nose down right onto the ground and sniff about just to make sure. Because it is very windy, I think the hyena will know that it's not the best or easiest conditions to be certain of where it's picking up scent from. And as you can see, it's still wanting to snoop about a bit there. It looks up at Karula, and Karula's actually looking down at it with naturally a bit of a look of disgust on her face. No way. Have a look at this, VM. Have a quick look at the hyena. Sorry to drag you around everywhere. Now, earlier on, I'm sure we would have showed you the hyena. Before the elephant chased it off, or rather than that, before it decided to run off. Well, interesting things happen on safari on a daily basis. This is one of the more interesting things that's happened to me. Notice that the hyena's got quite a bulging belly and would like to know if it's pregnant. Barbara, very, very difficult to tell. So I don't necessarily think so. If it was very heavily pregnant, there's a chance that I'd be able to tell you that. But they're incredibly female, judging by her size. Females are bigger than males generally, but they are incredibly difficult animals to sexually distinguish between. And most of the predators out here, all of the predators really, all the predators across the globe will give birth to young that are very underdeveloped, altricial young, meaning that they don't get very big and swollen bellies like the herbivores do. And the reason for that is because predators need to chase down their prey, and with a big heavy belly they wouldn't be able to catch anything. So it makes more sense for them to give birth to young that are more difficult to raise, or less chance of raising smaller developed young, but at least they'll still be able to catch themselves food. The adult young in their stomachs for longer until they get bigger and better developed, so that as soon as that youngster is born, it's got a chance of escaping predators. Good evening to Ashley. The whole animal from head to toe. What an adult, or what a leopard would do with an adult youngster is born, it's got a chance of escaping predators. Good evening to Ashley. The whole animal from head to toe. What an adult, or what a leopard would do with an adult impala is it would kind of try and strip the stomach lining away from all the vegetable matter, and that's the whole animal from head to toe. What an adult, or what a leopard would do with an adult. So good point. Well done. Just try and strip the stomach lining away from all the vegetable matter, and they do it kind of like sucking a big piece of spaghetti through their lips, trying to remove everything. I hope all is well. Well, I bet you the ants here didn't think they'd be feeding on. So good point. Well done for pointing that out and piloting. To nocturnal vision. And it won't take her eyes very long to return to actually see what's going on, whereas the animals who are not prone to nighttime vision having easy opportunities to feed on them. So spot on, Jennifer. We only shine on predators and or nocturnal animals. Like that is certainly not a predator, but we will shine on at night because it is nocturnal. And it's good that we do. Also because of the position and her posture sitting up in the tree, she'll have a lot of meat that she has already fed on, pushing up against her diaphragm, causing her to take short, sharp breaths. Oh, is she thinking of moving to a different spot? I see her looking around inquisitively, thinking of possibly repositioning. Not sure what she's heard out there now. She appears to be listening off in that direction. I certainly can't hear anything. She's now clearly looking downwards at the hyena, and now the hyena's looking up. And I'm told you just got an extreme close-up of her tongue and could even see a small blob of saliva dripping off in the direction of the hyena. Now at some point in time she is going to come down from this tree, and she could even do it while the hyena is nearby. If she does get to a point where her uncomfortable spot there overwhelms the slight risk she'd have of running off away from this hyena. If she leaves the kill up there, there'll be very little purpose for the hyena to pursue her. So that's in all likelihood what she would do. The way she's looking around in all different directions, I strongly feel she is planning a move of some sorts. The other half of this killers, or the mother of this little impala, is probably about. It's been wonderful spending this amount of time with it. It's probably the longest And I know a lot of you are mentioning on Twitter that you're also loving the fact that we have got to spend so much time with her. The viewers who've been following Safari Live for many years have had some incredible moments with this leopard and previous litters of cubs she's raised, but we have been less fortunate in the year that I've been here and have seen her probably less than any other leopards. But that's certainly not that she hasn't been around. I guess it's just been to find her at the opportune moments. But what's interesting is that she has actually moved back into Shadow's territory. Shadow pushed, actually Shadow's one of her daughters from her first litter, and Shadow's 9 years old now, and she pushed into Karula's territory in order to try and safeguard her cub, who is a young male who was under threat from a new dominant male out to the west. And since her cub has been out of the equation, Shadow has now retreated back onto the western parts of Arathusa, and now we're seeing more of Karula where we ordinarily did see Shadow for the last kind of 3 or 4 months. So interesting shift in territory dynamics between a mother and her daughter. And certainly enjoying having her around. Just going to keep quiet for a few seconds because there's incredible nocturnal audio coming through now. Frogs are calling, a lot of crickets and insects. So listen carefully just for a while. And I've told you I'm picking up some faint frog audio. We're going to do it properly, don't worry. We're going to find you some puddles and ponds. Deafening, but I just thought I'd try and give you a little taste there. Well, it doesn't look like Karula is going to actually do anything before the end of the safari, but she certainly has been giving us some wonderful, wonderful moments and memories this afternoon. So I hope you've all enjoyed it. I certainly have. And maybe it was the right call to head off to that lilac-breasted roller nest. Maybe it wasn't, but I'm glad we all jointly made that decision, because had it have just been me alone and we had have missed the initial attack of these hyenas, which did get a portion of the kill. I'm not too sure where that little chunk of meat came from that the hyena was carrying in its mouth, but we'll never know the answer to that. But what I can assure you is what we saw at the latter end of this afternoon safari was an incredible interaction between hyena, leopard, and even the elephants coming through at the end. James does send his thank yous and his goodbyes. It will be Brent and Jamie out, I think, tomorrow, but we will be starting to do the walking backpack sometime soon, so that might also be in the mix, something to look forward to if you are looking forward to a foot safari. Thanks so much for all your contributions, questions, and help on safari. It's been great fun as always. Well done to Tara and Louise in the final control room, and to Liam, who's done another great job on camera this afternoon. Have one last view of Karula, and we'll be sure to try and find her again in the morning.